Welcome, everyone, to Off Air with Christy Capel. Boy, do I have a special guest for you today. The beautiful Nia Sanchez is going to be joining me for a really fun conversation. Nia was Miss USA 2014, first runner-up to Miss Universe. She's also a pageant coach, a mom of three, so a lot of things we can relate to. Current reality TV star on a new show called The Valley, which is on Bravo. And don't mess with her, because what I'm hearing, Nia, you are a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo. Have you upgraded?
No, actually, so I trained through the ranks to my senior 4th degree, which was the top of the 4th degree. I was given an honorary 5th degree, but I claim senior 4th degree, which is the top of the 4th degree level, because I only want to claim what I worked for. The honorary one was sweet and kind, and I appreciate it, but 4th degree, we'll go with that.
That's awesome. Are you still training?
No, I don't train in Taekwondo anymore. I still stay in touch with the community because it's a huge community. I was a goodwill ambassador of Taekwondo and flown to Korea and meet the president of Korea, a whole thing. It's incredible, my relationship with the Taekwondo community, but I actually train in jiu-jitsu now, which
That's
I love.
Awesome. That's great. So don't even mess with Nia. I need to learn that. I know. And my oldest daughter is 10. So I'm you need to get in karate to be able to defend yourself. And it just helps. My son was 7 and he didn't really want to get into sports. And so I thought maybe karate would give him a little bit of, help with self-esteem and confidence.
Martial arts is really good for life skills and integrity, just the lifestyle of a martial artist and what they teach in schools, respect, all of that, the martial arts schools. I would suggest, if you want something that's also really, really, really applicable in real life, jiu-jitsu is hands down my favorite. Because most fights go to the ground if there is any ever physical confrontation, and it teaches you how to be calm, cool, and collected if there's a ground altercation. So I suggest jiu-jitsu is a foundation. So if you do that for your son or daughter, it's a great
Yes, she would really love that. She's so funny. It's she's ballet, but then she can throw some elbows in soccer too. So she would love it. All right, let's talk kids, because I love following Nia Sanchez. You have to follow her on Instagram. She has literally so much going on, and I'm
so many kids.
It's awesome. Let's talk about the twins first, because they are actors, and there is a little bit of a small world, because I know Wyatt McClure, who plays Billy Sparks on Young Sheldon.
Oh my God.
Yes. And so they're from Cleveland. And so I know his mom, she has a travel agency. So she's been on our show many times. And so your girls were on it. Now the show is over, but talk about what it was like being in the trailer for actors and set life for babies.
Right. So our girls were on almost every episode of this last season of Young Sheldon, season 7. And it's wild. And it's even fun because I did an Instagram reel just showing kind of our last day on set and what it looks like. And I think that reel is almost at 1 million views, which I'm going to get half of that for my other reels. So it's
people love babies.
People love babies. And I think people are just so fascinated. So to give a very, I feel interesting fun facts that I thought were interesting when we first started this journey with the girls. From 0 to 6 months, the girls can only be on set individually for 20 minutes max, and for 2 hours on property, on the studio lot. And that's it. They're so protective. They also have a nurse, an RN, that's with babies 0 to 6 months at all times, and a teacher, which is also their role more as a social worker to make sure all the rules are being followed. So they have a stopwatch. And when they get on set, they're timing it, and they can't be on set for more than 20 minutes each. And then they have to switch out babies. They're very protective. So, there's those, all the documentary that's come out recently with children that weren't protected 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Now, when you think about the Olsen twins.
Right. Oh my gosh. Right.
Right. So things have changed since then.
Have changed drastically. They're so protective of the children, which I just found so fascinating. We have two grown adults that are like monitoring us on set to make sure the babies are so safe and well taken care of. So that's really, really great. And then the specific set of young Sheldon, it truly feels like a family. Every single person, from the security guard, where we get to know Nathan's name, like he was with us every single time. So we also have a security guard. So we have our two, like, very protective nurse and social worker, and the security guard that walks us to and from set at all times, plus another person that's like in charge of the comms, so that when it's time for us, he'll say, okay, we got 2 minutes. Are you ready? You ready to go? So
yeah,
it's really
stressful.
fun.
It's not you being out there. And I feel like even when we take like family photos, it's always so stressful because you have to make sure everybody looks good.
Everybody has to look good. Everybody has to be in a good energy, good attitude. You don't want the baby crying. You want them to be happy. So it's like, even us as parents having to know, oh, this scene is with the baby being held, kind of like rocked like a baby. Zariah doesn't like that. Isabel's fine with it. That's fine. Oh, now they're being held on the hip, more upright. Okay, Zariah's good with that one. We can bring her on set. But if we did Isabel, she would throw a fit. Yeah. So it's like knowing what baby would be good in what scene and trying our best to like fit that for the right scene. And then sometimes they want a crying baby and you're like, well, my kids are happy, so I don't know what you want me to do.
Do you want me to pinch
it? I'm like, maybe I'll just like wait a little bit on giving her milk, so then she'll be like hungry and a little fussy. Like you just kind of have to like plan it out, So
yeah.
It's fun and it's crazy and a little stressful, but mostly fun.
Yeah, mostly fun. Now, Asher, she also has the cutest son. Oh my gosh. Is he in anything? Does he like to?
He should be.
He's darling, Nia.
Thank you. He's the sweetest. He like understands and kind of speaks like 4 or 5 languages like a native speaker. So I'm like, because like we have one nanny that's just with us one day a week and she speaks Russian. So I'm like, talk to her in Russian. Like, try not to speak to him in English. Like, let's get him speaking Russian. And she'll tell me he speaks Russian like a little Russian boy. And then we practice Spanish a lot. And he was speaking to a native Spanish speaker. She goes, oh my gosh, his accent, he sounds exactly like a little boy speaking Spanish. He doesn't have like an American accent. I was like, oh yay, we're doing it right. But I think he would be so great on any set. You need him for like a little Russian boy. You need him to be a little like Spanish speaking boy. Like but so far our agent hasn't sent him out for anything. I'm like, even a commercial? Like,
yes, even a commercial or in Target, like totally Target ads. I can see it.
I agree. But no, twins just get so much work in LA because there's so many restrictions on how long children can be on set. But with twins, that doubles because you can switch them out, especially identical twins like the girls. So yeah.
How fun though. So fun. If you follow Nia, she's got all these mom life tips as well that I can relate to. My kids are 10, 7, and 3. So we're at that stage, but they're so spaced apart. But I mean, you talk breast pumps, you talk, and it's all out there. And I think that that's so great because I think people could relate to, oh gosh, I didn't think anybody else was dealing with the same thing or going through postpartum. And that was a big thing that you had talked about. And even on the show, The Valley, which we'll get to, is it hard being vulnerable? Because I truly think people appreciate it, but is it difficult for you?
It was at first, but I kind of got to this place where I really decided that I wanted to share like my mess or my struggles.
Which we all have a mess.
Right. We all do. Like you should see my house. You should see what's not on camera right now.
That's what I was just about to say. Behind this laptop.
Yes, literally. So, but I feel like I know what has helped me or what I wish I would have seen more of as I was experiencing things. So I try to share like the realness that I'm going through because I hope that it can help someone else. Whether it's from like when I was dealing with infertility struggles and being diagnosed as infertile. They're like, you have unexplained infertility. You may never have children. Cut to now I have 17, it feels like.
Right.
But even that, like it was such a hard time, but it's something that I needed people that I felt like I could relate to on social media that were open and raw and vulnerable. So I chose to, once I was in a place where I could share it and I felt more safe sharing it, I shared my journey as well. So it's just like, I'd rather share the craziness because I hope and I know that it will help someone.
Yeah. And I think that people assume that everything, like you only post good stuff, not you, but everybody. Like, are we going to post our kid throwing a tantrum? Well, we should, because that's probably pretty much 95% of our day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yes. And like, I like to post pretty pictures, don't get me wrong. But
Yes.
maybe I'll like break it down in the caption, like, this was a cute moment, but you should have seen 3 seconds later.
Right.
It all hit the fan. So
Yes.
I love a pretty picture on a grid. I keep it really real in the stories, or like I'll drop some info in the caption of like, this is what really happened.
Yes. Well, Nia goes from like babies and everything going on with her kids to the red carpet. How do you do it? How do you do all of it? I always say, if my husband was not as extremely helpful as he is, and he is the best, like like he's the glue that holds us together.
Yeah, we have a village, and
Oh my
I think
gosh.
it's really important for moms to know that our village is not always as built in as it was maybe 100 years ago, 50 years ago. So you got to save up money to pay for your village like that. Like, put that on your baby registry. I need money for babysitters or for nannies or whatever, because it's expensive. Like, our village is, we pay for our village half the time. And it's the reality of the world that we live in, especially like in a bigger city where we're not near family immediately. And even for us, like, we fly our village in. I'm like, Mom, the cost of your plane ticket is going to save me
Probably cheaper.
a few $100s on a babysitter that week. So if you want to come and hang out with your grandkids, and we'll, come out for a little bit. So it's like, I think it's important for people to know that we just like live in a different time, and that might be someone's reality where they need to save up to pay for their village versus, I mean, you're lucky and blessed if you have family around, and like, I'm so happy for you, who whoever's listening, but we don't have that. So
no. And I, the same way, we have been apart from our family. My mom passed away a couple years ago, and she was the best. And they were Cincinnati, we're Cleveland, so just a few hours. But after she passed it, I really felt hopeless. Like, I really felt, and you don't always trust everybody, especially the environment that you're in, the environment that I work in with TV. You just can't trust everybody with your kids these days.
Oh no.
Yes.
I would never I mean, all of our village is like, so we used to serve in the children's ministry team at our church. We both volunteered. So almost everyone that like we have as babysitters, they served on the children's ministry team with us.
Wonderful.
Like, oh, they're background checked. We've known them for 5, 6, 7 years. Or they're like recommendations from other people at church who have already had them watch their kids. So it's like, I would never connect with like Joe Schmo off the street.
Right.
Like, church, background check, all of that stuff. We don't have to run the background check, but we know it's already been done.
Exactly. So, and then you are already putting them in church nursery, so you already trust them. Exactly. So we are the exact same way. Yes. And I think that community, especially with church, that's what I was raised in. There's that community that you can trust. And it's hard to deviate from that. Yeah. And in speaking of that, in living in LA, you are a faith-based person and a believer, and that's the biggest thing that I love about you. And I thought I had to have her on my podcast just because of that. And so how does that play a role, especially living in LA and keeping that faith? And it's already difficult anyway. And I don't think it matters where you live. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. I feel like for us, we just like live our life, and we have friends of all different backgrounds and different faiths or no faith at all. And we just really love people and love our friends, no matter what their background is, but we just live our life and like hope that we're a light, but we're never shoving our faith down anybody's throat. So we might, be out at a friend's like gathering, and they wanted to like get together at a bar and like have a good time and hang out, and we'll have a drink and we'll like hang out and just like be us, but we're not going to like maybe go to the after party at 3 a.m. in the Hollywood Hills because we got kids and we have to get home. Right. But we like show up for our friends, and we show up for our people, and we just like, our faith is we never like are shy about saying, oh yeah. And then like on Sunday, we're going to church. Like we have normal conversations, and God and Jesus happen to be a part of those conversations, but it's never shoving it down someone's throat. So if someone's like, oh my gosh, this happened to your girls, I was like, yes, we were praying about it, and I'm so grateful. Like, it's so exciting. Like it's just part of our life. And do you get that shock when you say, I'm praying for you? Because I feel like sometimes I do. No, and I'm like, that's great. Like, thank you. Even if people don't have a faith, they're like, I'll take the prayers anyway. So I'm like, I got you. I'm praying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that God puts us in certain positions, and it's just because we're believers doesn't mean we need to be put into a position in the church field. Maybe God has you in LA doing things, shows, or with your title of Miss USA, and now with your kids and your kids working. Like, I think God puts us in certain situations and our light shines through us, and sometimes we just don't have to say anything.
You don't
And people get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I even had one of our girlfriends who was like part of our just like friend group when we were out. This is before kids. One of our friends was performing, musical artist was performing at like a really cool little like vibey, loungy bar area. And we were all hanging out after. And she was like, there's something different about you guys. Like, do you go to church or something? Like, where do you go? And we told her, and she goes, I'm Jewish, but like, can I come with you? And we're like, yeah, girl, like, come hang, like that. Absolutely. Like, never, don't even have to ask, like, show up with us on Sunday. So it's just like, we just live our life and we love people. And
that's wonderful.
Hopefully that makes an impact.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's talk about you, because you are super successful. So are your children. But now we'll talk about you. Her and I share kind of the same sisterhood of the Miss USA Club. However, she was Miss USA and first runner-up at Miss Universe, and I was just there to look pretty. No, I'm just joking. So, talk about how you got into pageants. I got into pageants because my mom was never like the pageant, like, you need to get into it. I was more like an athlete. And so it was kind of like, hey, you want to try something new? And I'm like, sure, Mom. So, I got into a few. So for those maybe who are in the pageant world or don't know much about the pageant world, talk about how you got into it.
So I feel like every year there's a new up and down in the pageant world. There's something that's hitting the news. But when I joined, I had a little dabble in pageants when I was 13 years old. We got a flyer. We signed up for a local pageant, but my family was so busy. I won that title. Then there was the regional title. I went and won that, and I loved it. But I very specifically remember my stepmom telling me, I'm so sorry, but we don't have the money or the time to take you to any more of these pageant things. So you're going to have to wait till you're old enough to do it on your own. So skip to, I turned 18 years old. My first like real pageant was after I was watching Miss USA on TV randomly. I hadn't really thought about pageants in years. I was still a martial art competitor. My whole family was in martial arts. I competed internationally. So that was my focus. But Miss USA came on TV. At the same time I'm watching it, I'm Googling state, local directors. Like, how do I get signed up? I called during the pageant and the director was like, I'm watching Miss USA. Can you call me after? And I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Like, people are really
this is a thing. Yeah.
I called her while the pageant was on. So, because I'm very much like a type A, like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to get started now before the show's even over. So that was actually the year that Kristen Dalton won Miss USA.
Yes.
And so 2009, crazy, so long ago. I called the recruiter after the pageant. We chatted. I did her local pageant first. And then from there, I won that and went on to Miss California. Before that, though, she actually sent me to Ecuador to compete for Miss Turismo Latino because she had a connection in Ecuador. Wow. And I got first runner-up to Miss Turismo Latino, not speaking any Spanish, with the last name Sanchez. That was a who. Everybody was so confused. Like, Sanchez? Like... Okay, like what? Like, what's going on?
Who cares? She's cute.
Exactly. It was just like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Like, I learned how to like introduce myself in Spanish and say how old I was.
That's good. Yeah.
Stage.
Right.
And then I went to California. I got second runner-up. I was like, dang, I'm good at this. Like, I won my first pageant, got first runner-up internationally, got second runner-up at California. Let's go. And then the next year I came back and I barely made top 20. And like, my heart was broken. I trained really hard the following year, came back as Miss Hollywood USA, dyed my hair blonde because I was told that's what would help me win. And I barely made top 20 again. So I took a year off. I moved to Hong Kong. It's like random. That's very extreme. I was like, to Hong Kong.
What were you doing in Hong Kong?
I was offered a contract to work as friends with the Disney princesses in Hong Kong.
Oh, how fun. I did read that you were a Disney princess. I'm like, she had a little bit of extra help before kids, dealing with kids.
I've been with kids for like all my adult life. So I worked at Disneyland for a year in Hong Kong. I came back, moved to Nevada. I was about to compete. I was signed up, paid my entry fee, but the pageant fan boards, like on Facebook and all that, were really vicious and were saying, if she wins Miss Nevada, we're going to get her crown taken away. She wasn't there for 6 months. It was a 6-month residency rule at the time. I had been there for 5 months from Hong Kong as a temporary resident in Hong Kong to Nevada. I'm like, but I'm not coming from California or Washington, or I'm coming from another country. Like, does the 6-month rule apply? But it did. So I waited an entire year, and then I competed the following year where I won Miss Nevada, then competed for Miss USA, won that, went to Miss Universe, got first runner-up, and now we're here.
Oh my gosh. And so in the way that your life has gone with the pageant industry, now you're coaching, like you're coaching girls. And so it's a little bit different time, as you mentioned. So, and there's a lot going on in the news about Miss USA and Miss USA resigning and making headlines. I think I've had that story a few times this week on the news. Yeah. And so just talk about, I mean, like, you were last of the Trump era. I was, when Tara Conner won, that's the year that I was in. And talk about a little bit how things have changed from your perspective, a coaching perspective. And I don't know, I mean, what do you think about the drama that's going on in the headlines?
So things have continued to change and evolve. And on a personal note, I don't 100% love where the Miss Universe and USA pageant is as a whole. There's also been drama with the new owner of the Miss Universe organization that's over everything. And I just feel like as a pageant community, I'm personally like, we're looking for stability. Everything is changing so much. And there's good things like more inclusivity. And then there's things like Miss USA quitting for her mental health and Miss Teen USA quitting and saying that she no longer aligns with the new owners and the directors. So it's just like, it feels so unstable, but I think a lot of it is leadership top down. And not to say that any of the leaders are bad. It's just like, there maybe needs to be like a different adjustment in the organization and like how things are run, because
listen to the girls.
It's affecting the girls. And, mental health is such a big conversation. And I think it's something that is really important that we really do need to listen to. I had my own mental health struggles during my year as Miss USA. So have many, many other Miss USAs that you may never even know unless they've shared about it publicly. I know Alyssa Campanella has, and she hasn't even gone into all the details of her year. She was Miss USA 2011. Yes, 11. But there's a lot of up and downs. When I was Miss USA, the Miss Universe organization had an incredible psychiatrist that could be on call at any time for us. So anytime I wanted an appointment with her, I could just say, hey, I need an appointment this week. I want an appointment for the next 4 weeks, every single week, or I need 2 a week. Anything I asked when it came to my mental health, they were 1000% supportive and they footed the bill. They covered the cost of that. Wow. And I'm sure a New York City psychiatrist is not cheap, but they knew that the mental health of their title holders would trickle down into the health of the organization, because we are the face of the organization. So I felt very supported, and I don't know what the most recent situation was with Noelia and Uma Sophia, but at least this year, this is the first year that the new owner is owning the Miss USA organization. Maybe they don't have everything set in place to support the mental health of the title holders. So it seems like some changes need to happen. And when those do, I hope it's for the better, because these girls have a very stressful year and they do need to be supported.
And talk about the benefits. I know I've dealt with in the past. I'm sure you have the stereotype of being a pageant girl. You know what I mean? In my industry, they actually do very well because we're on TV and we work very hard and we speak well, what have you. So, but it's interesting, the stereotype. And so the benefits of actually coming through like a pageant industry is actually a good thing.
Oh, incredible. I feel like the pageant women that I know are the most driven, focused, successful women in whatever field they go into. Like, I've worked with women that have, graduated from multiple 4-year universities and are scientists, and like, they are so successful because they're so
very smart,
focused, as well as the women that want to go on camera, the women that become lawyers and doctors. Like my Miss Ukraine, who was second or third runner-up at Miss Universe, please forgive me for forgetting, I think second runner-up, she went to law school. Like, she graduated law school as a lawyer and now works as a model, but has her degree, and your education never leaves you. So it's like, we have these incredible women that are a part of our industry. And I think that I truly feel like maybe it's because I'm in the pageant world and I have this thought, but I feel like the stereotype is being like kind of left behind a little bit because people are seeing how successful these pageant women are and how driven they are, and they're successful in multiple areas. So.
And as a coach, you're seeing girls still wanting to participate, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
And it's so beautiful to see, like, there's young women, Shayla Montgomery, she just won Miss Oregon USA. I remember having so many clients almost 10 years ago when I first started working with her over 10 years ago, thinking like, you know, she's a little 13-year-old little girl saying, I'm going to be a nurse one day and I'm going to do this and I'm going to graduate high school early because I have this accelerated program that I want to get into and I'm going to graduate high school with an associate's degree. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's really ambitious. Like, don't, you know, I never said this to her, but in my mind, I'm like,
whoa,
I'm like, that's like a lot for a young girl. Meanwhile, cut to, she did graduate high school with her associate's degree. She's one of the earliest in her class, and she's already doing like her clinical rounds and everything in the OBGYN clinics and all of that. Like, she's incredible. And I'm just like, this girl is achieving her dreams that she set when she was 13 years old. And I see that over and over and over again. So it's so beautiful to watch.
That's awesome. Well, keep doing it. Keep coaching. She also has emceed. Tim Tialdo is one of my good friends.
Yes, I love him. He's great.
He's fabulous.
Like a high quality human being. I love him.
Yes, he does great at his job. You are exactly right. And they actually co-hosted together Miss Teen USA. I think it was 2019.
Yes.
Yes, you.
Yes, me. I thought you were talking about Shayla. I was like, whoa, did she?
No, didn't you co-hosted him at 2019? Yeah. And you guys were so good together. He raved and raved about you.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, he is. And he does such a good job with it. And I know the girls love him at the state level.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's talk about the reality show on Bravo.
Let's talk about it.
If you are a Vanderpump Rules fan, is this kind of like a spinoff? It's called The Valley. It's on Bravo. And I think you might notice some of the people who were on Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
So like an alumni.
Everybody's saying it's a spinoff. That's like kind of how I think we got even some of the momentum. Like, hey, Vanderpump spinoff. Everybody loves Vanderpump. Here's the next show.
Yeah.
And it is kind of the next stage of life where Vanderpump is very much like partying, drinking, West Hollywood clubs, all the things, and like dating and figuring that all out. Now it's like, all right, we got kids or we're trying to have kids. We're in serious relationships. This is kind of the next stage. And yes, if you follow Vanderpump, you would know Jax, Brittany, Kristen, and even Jasmine. I think she worked at SUR. And Janet was on a few episodes of Vanderpump helping out because she's been friends with these girls for like 10 plus years. So
yeah, it's fun. I was kind of reading about it. I loved one of the comments somebody wrote, protect them at all costs, talking about you and your husband Daniel. So talk about how you guys are on the show. I've watched a little bit and seen some outtakes and episodes or what have you. Yes, and she's right, they're trading the bottles for baby bottles.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a lot going on, but then you also talk about postpartum and breakdown, at the dinner table. And so it's very real.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride. It was definitely a wild ride to film so quickly after giving birth. We started filming 5 weeks after I gave birth.
Oh my God.
Which was just wild. And I was down for it. I was like, let me show like pumping all the time and like the craziness of like being in that newborn stage. I did not expect to be experiencing postpartum depression or baby blues or anything like that. So that caught me off guard, and it was all caught on camera at the same time. And it's just life. And I am glad that I kind of stuck to it, because there was times where I was like, I think we just need to like stop filming and say like, we're out, because it's too much. But I'm glad that we pushed through, because it has helped so many people. And I've had thousands of messages of women saying, the way that you described it, I had to show my husband what you were saying, and it helped him better understand what I'm experiencing. Because she said, many women say I couldn't put words to it, but that's how I felt. I was like, I'm so grateful that the words that I put to it are helping you, because I still feel like the way that I tried to describe what I experienced wasn't doing it justice,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and see how God was using it in that situation that you might not have thought of.
Exactly.
It's a very cool show, reality TV show. It's on Bravo. You'll have to check it out. Nia also has a podcast, and it's very popular. And I love the title, "Hold My Crown." She topics that you tackle. Your husband's so funny in it. My husband is like not TV, and so at some point I'm going to get him on my podcast because I think those make the best, you know, when they're just like, oh my God, what am I doing? But talk about what you guys cover on the podcast. You've spoken to a lot of former title holders and such, but I mean, you and your husband get real on that too. It's fun.
We get real on the podcast. We have this thing, I'm trying to include it more, called Booko Buttons, and we talk about the most recent thing that has just like pushed our buttons in the week and things that I think everybody can relate to, including I was talking about my mental load and one. I'm like, don't ask me questions if you could take 2 seconds to figure it out yourself. Like my brain, it has 1,000 tabs open. I can't pause my tabs to like help you and then come back and then where was I? Like we talk about everything, but subject wise, we have former title holders. So I've had the Miss USA that just gave up her title, last year's Miss USA, and a few before, Kristen Dalton, who's an incredible Miss USA as well. So former Miss USAs, but we also have friends from our reality show from the Valley. We talk about parenting, we talk about pageants, we talk about reality TV, sometimes just current events. So we try to cover things that we love and that we're passionate about. I'm having a fertility guest on soon. I am, and if, you know, by the time your listeners are listening to this, she may already have been on.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So fertility and self-defense, because that's something else that I'm passionate about. So we have a variety of topics, but I feel like the thing that keeps people coming back is just like, we have great energy. We want every episode to have a takeaway, something that someone can like learn and apply to their life. And we have fun.
Yes, and that's the best part. As I wrap this up, again, I love the analogy from you and Daniel. There will be sun at the end of a storm. And I think that's so important to remember as any of us go through life, no matter what it is. But you have to check out The Valley on Bravo. Check out her podcast, Hold My Crown, and follow her because she's a great follow on Instagram, Nia Sanchez. And I'll link all that as well. But
real Nia Sanchez, because someone took my name.
Wait, what?
When I won Miss USA, I was like, shoot, I need to like lock my actual name in. I think it was like Miss Nevada was my original Instagram account. So I was like, shoot, let me get my real name, but someone had already taken it. So this is real Nia Sanchez is my account.
Okay, we're going to get that back, but yes, we're getting your name back. Real Nia Sanchez, and I'll link all that. But thank you for your time. You are just as sweet as I suspected and have seen on Instagram, and I'm just so happy for you. And let God continue to use you. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Bye.
Yay.